Hi everyone, I'm Jen here at Tell Us World of Science Edmonton, and we're here today for another Maker Monday. This is a place where we get to do some really cool design, build, test, engineering challenges using stuff that you can find just around your home. This week we've been invited to a Toy Buddy picnic. Alas, our Toy Buddy friends are not quite tall enough to reach the top of the picnic table. The picnic table is 9 centimeters high, and it's just a little too high for them. So this week we're going to use the design, build, test strategy to make a chair for our Toy Buddies so that they can sit up at the picnic table. Let's look at the materials that we need for this week's challenge. So, there isn't a lot, but very important. You're going to need some newspaper, and you're going to need a lot of it. If you don't have newspaper at home, you can use scrap paper as well, but I think newspaper is going to be a great way to do this activity. We're also going to need masking tape for this activity, and probably a lot of it as well. Okay, and then some tools as well. So I have here a pair of scissors. Make sure you grab a pair of scissors that suits your size of hand. So if you have little hands, make sure you have little scissors. And then also a ruler for measuring later. The other thing I'm going to recommend that you have is some scrap paper on the side and a writing tool like a marker or a pen. And this is going to help us when we make our designs. Also very important, you are going to need some toy buddies for attending your picnic. Picnics are way more fun with friends. All right, so we have our newspaper and we have our tape. I think we're ready to begin. A chair is a structure that needs to be stable because it is going to hold up a load. And that load is going to be our toys and other friends. Let's look at some basic familiar shapes. Which of these shapes do you think is the strongest? Ahoy there! We've taken one sheet of newspaper for each of these tubes. And so we've made 3 different tubes in 3 different shapes. So this one has a circle shape. This one has a triangular shape. And this one has a square shape. So let's test out the strength of these 3 different shapes. So the circle tube, if I press down on it with my hand, it collapses pretty easily this way. How about the triangular tube? This one, that pushes back a little bit more. But if I put it on the square tube, well, it flattens pretty easily, doesn't it? I wonder if I flip these the other way so that they're standing up on their end, if we'll get a different result. So let's see. If I start here with the square, well, very little pressure. And it's collapsing there at the bottom. If I move to our triangle tube and I push down, that one's a little bit stronger, but it's still collapsing a little bit on the bottom. And then if I move over to our circular tube, that one's really strong. So it makes a difference which way the paper tube is standing, and it also makes a difference in the shape. So you can use whatever shape works for your chair design. So which of these shapes should we use in the chairs that we're making? You can use one, or you could use more than one. You could combine different shapes. There's lots of different ways that we can make our chair today. The first part of our building process is to create a few designs that we think are going to solve our problem. And so in this case, designing a chair that will help our friends make it up to the picnic table. So grab some scrap paper and your marker or your pen. And remembering back, we just talked about the different types of shapes and how strong they are. Keep those in mind when you make a few different designs. Our first chair design is for Squirt the turtle. Now, his body is pretty short and spread out over a large area. So I wanted to design a chair that would support the same area that he occupies. Our second chair design is for PJ, the T-Rex. She is much taller than Squirt and also has quite a large tail. We have to keep that in mind when designing our chair. Now we get to build. Don't forget the shape test that we did. Rolling or folding the paper a couple of times over itself is going to give us a bit more strength. We're going to be using a square and 4 long circles, otherwise known as cylinders, for this design. First, I start with building the sitting surface by folding some sheets over each other to make it a thicker sheet. Then it's time to make the legs. I've decided to make 4 since there are 4 corners on our seat. Since Squirt is short and we need to raise him up high enough to reach the table, which is 9 centimeters, I made them by measuring 7.5 centimeter strips of newspaper and then rolling them up into cylinders with tape. Then I attached them by taking a strip of masking tape and then made small cuts down one side. That way, when I roll it around the end of the paper cylinder with the tape slits overhanging the end, I can fold them out to make it easier to attach the bottom of the seat. For PJ's chair, I started the same way with a seat made of folded newspaper. The rest of this design mostly has squares in it. Then I made another one. This one is a bit more of a rectangle and is going to be the back of the chair. I had to remember to cut a hole out large enough for PJ's tail to go through. We don't have to raise PJ as high as Squirt, so this time I folded a piece of newspaper into a 2 centimeter strip and folded it over and over itself several times to make it stronger. Then I took the strip and folded it into a square and taped it to the bottom of the seat. Voila! These look great. So I think it's time to test them out on Squirt and PJ and see if it helps them sit at our picnic table. Okay, first we'll start with Squirt. So we have Squirt on his chair, and his chair is just about 8 centimeters tall, which puts him at the perfect height to be able to eat at our picnic table today. All right, now it's time to test out PJ's chair. So PJ's chair is shorter than Squirt's because PJ is taller. So her chair is about 2 centimeters tall, but as we can see, that's the perfect height so that PJ can sit comfortably at the table. You'll also notice that this hole in the back lets her tail hang out just nice, so she doesn't need to worry about squishing her tail up against the back of her chair. Now it's the best part. We actually get to eat at our picnic. So now it's your turn. I want to see what you guys can do by creating your very own picnics and inviting your toy buddies to your picnic and creating nice, comfortable chairs for them. And in fact, after you're done that, if you want to do a really awesome bonus challenge, something really cool you can do is build yourself a chair out of newspaper, and it will actually hold you up. It can be done. So that's a really fun sort of advanced bonus challenge if you guys are feeling up to it. So when you're done making your chairs, it would be great if you took a picture of them and post them in the comments down below. I am excited to see all of the different chair designs that you guys come up with. So thanks again so much, you guys, for tuning in for this week's Maker Monday. I hope that you can tune in again next week for our next design challenge. And remember, everyone, to stay curious.